Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good day. Thanks for taking a minute to join us on the live stream here today. We'll just give everybody a few minutes to jump in and join us here. I'm going to go ahead and make a post, see if we can get a few more people over here for us. Let's see here. Alrighty, let's check the comments here. If you could leave me message in the comments. Let me know you guys can hear and see me okay. Make sure everything's set up and going good here, and we'll get started here in just a second. Hey, Mark. Hey, Kimmy and Scott. Sorry, I'm not the best with names, so sorry if I butcher anybody's names. Thanks for joining, guys. So for those who didn't see the updated comment on the post in the group, the plan today is we're going to do a little bit more with bundles. So I really think that's a good opportunity for everybody kind of going into the holiday season. What we're going to be kind of showing today is pairing a pillow with a blanket, just on a fairly simple design. But I really think the whole idea around bundles and really being able to maximize what the customer is looking for and increase that average cart value, I think there's still just tons of opportunity there that not a lot of people are doing because, until Anywhere POD, it wasn't something that was very easy to do. So we're pretty excited about that feature, and it's something that we recommend. Any products that you're building, think, is there another product or design that could pair well with this as a bundle, and even looking at some of your current performing listings and seeing if there's any there that you can add um, another product to be able to create a bundle out of, that you're already getting those eyeballs to that page, adding that bundle, even if only 10 or 15% of the customers end up purchasing that, it can still be a good kind of upsell opportunity. So we got a few more people on. Deborah, Sabrina, Marna, thank you everybody for joining. I know our schedule's been a little bit hit and miss with vacations and everything the last few weeks. So thank you again, everybody, for jumping in and joining on. So plan is we're going to kind of go over that blanket and bundle set that I was just talking about, and then answer any questions that you guys might have. I know there's a few in the Facebook group. I'll try to remember the ones that were in there. But if you're on and you have any questions, of course, about anything that we're talking about today, but anything to do with Etsy or Shopify, e-commerce, print on demand, please feel free to paste those as well, and we'll be happy to answer any of those questions. Um, Curious, is this training Etsy specific or could be applied to Shopify? Yeah, so the way Anywhere POD works, we try to make it as easy as possible to be able to list for Etsy or Shopify. So um, there's some subtle nuances and differences between the two, but for the most part, most of what we demo is specific to Anywhere POD. So that means it can be used for Etsy or for Shopify. Really, the only main difference you get into, especially when you start doing bundles, is with Shopify, you have the ability to offer more, um, not necessarily variant options, but more, you get a third variant choice. So, for example, with Etsy, you only have two drop downs that you kind of have to fit everything into those two columns. With Etsy, you can add a third one. So that can make it a little bit easier, but you can still do all the same stuff on Etsy and vice versa. It's just a matter of how it's set up on the variants. So, again, to answer that question, what we're showing today and most of what we show will apply for Etsy or for Shopify, either one. So, um, alrighty. Yeah, Mark, yeah, we'll definitely get into that once we kind of get to the Q&A portion. Um, and yeah, Sabrina, if you could bring that up again when we get to Q&A, I kind of want to cover the kind of demo piece first. I don't want to say I'm going to fly through it as fast as possible, but it's not that complicated of a design. I just want to, it's more the, I guess, mindset around bundles and starting to think in that kind of mindset because it's not something that people have had the capability to do before. So it's not something people have done a lot of. Doing group listings, where you offer a pillow and a blanket on a listing, that's something that was kind of able to do before. It was still manual. We made that process a lot easier, but being able to say, hey, do you want the pillow, the blanket, or do you want both? Isn't really something that, until now was really able to be done. So it's kind of a different way of thinking. So we just kind of want to reinforce that a little bit as well. So okay, let me jump over and share my screen here. And let's see, get this here and make sure I can get my full screen. Sometimes it only wants to do a tab. So let me make sure I get my full window here. Okay. Okay, perfect. My screen should be up. So this was just kind of some of the research I was doing earlier. What I did was just came in and did a search for flower name blanket because I know there's a lot of those on Etsy, and I know that would be a good product that having a coordinated pillow to go with kind of makes a lot of sense because that's something, a baby blanket, you're probably not going to have a coordinated pillow with because you're not putting a pillow in a crib with a baby, but something like a name blanket or like several of the examples that you see here is something that kind of makes sense to have that coordinating pillow with. So what I did just to kind of get some thoughts and inspiration was come here and just did a search for flower name blanket. Um, and then I came to the filters, and Etsy has removed their bestseller filter option here. But if you select star seller, and I think it shows up here at the very top in the URL where it says star, you can just replace that with best. And now this is going to filter down and just show me all of the best sellers that Etsy considers best sellers. So there's really a lot of different ones here that I think would lend itself really well to kind of the process we're doing. I'm seeing, of course, since I put it in the search, lots of names, which is common on blankets anyway, I know. Also seeing a lot of different options with wildflowers. So you got a wildflower here, lots and lots of wildflowers. Wildflowers in general, especially around like home decor and stuff like that, is something that's kind of been trending for a while. So I know that doing something with wildflowers is probably going to do really well. Also, if you guys haven't noticed, I see Etsy more and more is starting to show this can be personalized here. I believe that is a test that they were previously running, and I've seen it more and more. So I'm thinking this is something that they may have rolled out for everyone now. So it's just another thing that's kind of emphasizing that Etsy sees itself as the place to go for personalized gifts, and that's something they seem to really be hammering home on any ad campaigns that they're doing, commercials, and anything of the like. So um, I'm going for today kind of a design similar to this one that is a repeating wildflower pattern. But I think any of these that are showing big with the name here would be really good ones to do. I really like this Everly Rose here. I think also having, and looks like they kind of maybe did that here, but having a repeating pattern and then having like a heart shape in the middle for like where the name or the personalization is going to go, I think could work really well. Um, or also something similar for Halloween, where maybe it was in the shape of a pumpkin. A lot of different things that you can do there. Um, but yeah, so what we're going to kind of do today is going to be more of this flower pattern with the personalization in the middle. So what I did was come over to Creative Fabrica. I think I just did a search here. Yeah, just for flower pattern. Um, Pretty much any of these would work for a design like this. You could edit them some to make them yourself, the kind of unique to you, um, or even combining different ones of these, especially down here where you get into some of the single flowers. You could do some unique things there as well. So in this case, I think it was this retro daisy flower design that I went with, and I have that downloaded on my computer already. So to get started, let me get AnywherePOD pulled up here. You could use any blanket supplier that you want to use. Shine On has blankets now. T-Launch, Custom Cat, Printify all have blankets. I think this kind of bundle idea that I'm doing would work really well on the um, woven blankets from MWW because they have a woven pillow that matches that doesn't get promoted a lot. It's kind of a unique product. So doing this woven pillow with a woven throw, I think would work really well as well. Um, yeah. So Sabrina's asking, which one do you trust the most in terms of quality? So kind of depends a little bit on what you're going for. The woven blankets, both from Shine On and MWW, are both excellent quality. I have a sample from um, MWW, and it's really nice. Beyond that, in terms of perceived quality, or at least print quality, like if we go look at, um, let's see, let's go to like Printify products here, for example, and go to blankets. Print quality wise, most of these are all going to be similar or really good print quality because it's a sublimated process. So it's um, the blanket starts out just like a white base color, and then it's sublimated. So sublimated, it's the same printing technology and process that's used for a lot of ornaments, for coffee mugs. So it's a very strong, durable printing process. So your print quality is going to be very, very good for pretty much all of these. So from there, it really comes down to shipping times and speeds and what the blanket itself is made out of. So there's lots of different kind of fleece blankets of various thicknesses. So it's kind of up to you on what you want to offer for that. Um, and also can be a place to have a good option for upsells. So you could offer um, multiple different even styles of blanket. So like you could do the Arctic fleece and then also add something that's a little bit higher quality. Shoot, you could even do the hooded fleece blanket here. Lots of different options there that you could do and be able to add to it to give your customer additional options. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, Sabrina. Yes, Jill, I agree. The heirloom woven blankets from MWW and Shine On, they're both really, really great products. Um, Sabrina, so on the woven blankets, that is one thing. The colors are, it's not a printed process. So with the woven blankets, the machine that is actually weaving the blanket is selecting the right color yarn to make your design. So your design is actually woven into the product. It's not printed on the product. On most of the woven blankets, I should say, there is one printed version, but both the Shine On and MWW blankets that you're going to see here, there is one here. This printed woven throw will be true color. It's a sublimated product, like I was just describing. These other woven products from MWW and from Shine On is selected by the yarn. So there is a bit more of a limit on the colors that are actually displayed and what that looks like. Um, if you come into any of these woven products from MWW, you'll see there is a woven product design guide here that is a PDF file. It kind of walks through what the process is, how it looks, and that whole sort of thing. Um, Oh, we're not seeing your screen. I have been sharing Anywhere POD for quite a while now, and it hasn't been. You guys haven't seen anything I've done for a while. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Um, so what I was saying here, this was the printed polyester blanket that I was mentioning. Um, that is the woven throw, but it's the sublimated process. Then if I scroll down here, these and the heirloom woven throw that's available from Shine On are the woven method. Um, so if I come into any of these and go to start designing, this is where you'll see here the woven product design guide here on the left. There's a link for that. That's a PDF that kind of walks through that process. Hopefully that kind of answers that comment, that question. Um, okay. Hopefully that, I think that was the main things that I was sharing. I think the only other thing when I was talking about Printify and looking at their blankets, what I was saying on the different styles of blanket they have available, you can go with something that is kind of lower priced, like this Arctic fleece blanket starts at 920 with Printify Premium, and kind of goes up from there. So you could combine that with like a plush fleece blanket, for example. And same thing with Shine On. They have multiple different, let's see what they have on blankets. So here's those heirloom woven throws that we were talking. These coral fleece blankets, I really, really like those. Just like personally, I like the way those, kind of are and feel. They're a little bit heavier. Um, but so you see, you got the coral fleece, and then you got they've got the mink touch here. So you could do like give the customer a choice between kind of the thinner mink touch and something that's going to be a little bit thicker, like this jersey fleece. That's going to be thicker on there as well. So, um, yeah, that's kind of how I would be thinking about it. So while we're here in Shine On, let's just go ahead and we'll start designing one of these. So let's go with the Sherpa fleece here, and we'll go start designing. So I'm going to upload here is going to be my daisy flower print that I got from Creative Fabrica. And so we have a couple different options here. So I could either, if the quality of this is high enough, I could either expand that out and have really big flowers, or what I could do is kind of shrink it down a little bit and make this a repeating pattern. So I can click on create pattern here, and that's set up and looks really well as a repeating pattern. And then my flowers are a little bit smaller. So that's all you have to do to get that kind of repeating pattern on the background. And then what I'm going to do is add a text field here, and let's just go say Elizabeth and maybe a scripty looking font. Um, I'm also going to want to kind of change my font color here. So we could either do a bit of a bolder font and put an outline around it. Or we could put kind of a block behind this that's going to kind of be a place where the font can sit. And I think that's probably what we're going to go with here. Um, so for the color, let's see if we kind of have maybe this pinkish color. So you can see that's like, hey, that's not showing up very well. So what I actually want to do is find out what my background color is here. Which that's pretty light. That might work. So I'm going to grab this hex code, and I'll show you why here in just a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and select a different color here that I'm going to actually want my font color to be. So what I want now is another image that's going to kind of be behind my name, that's going to allow my name to kind of show through and be a background just for the name portion. So I could load all this into, Canva, and then figure out exactly what I want my size to be. But I think instead I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. So just kind of looking at the section where my name is, I'm thinking that's probably like um, a sixth or a seventh of the entire height of my design here. So it's entire height's 12,375. So if I take 12,375 and let's just divide that by 7, that's going to give me roughly 1,700 pixels. So what I'm going to do is come over to Canva now, and I'm going to go to custom size. And for my height, I want 1,700. For my width, this is probably going to be too wide for Canva, but I want 9,375. And it doesn't have to be these exact dimensions. I'm just kind of using this to kind of guesstimate where I want it. Yeah, and that's too big. So what I'm going to do is 9,375 divided by 2 gives me 4,687. 4,687. And then over here, so my height, again, I'm just kind of guesstimating. So like that's maybe instead of 1,700, I could do 2,000. So if I'm dividing that by 2, that would just be 1,000. And we'll just go to create new design. Now what I'm going to do here is just set, let's see, my background color here to that hex code that I had copied when I selected the color in AnywherePOD. That was just kind of a shortcut to get that color real quick. So I've got this. So this is basically just going to be a stripe that's going to show behind the name on my design. So I'm going to go to download here, and we're going to download this at 2x dimensions. I do not want a transparent background, remember, because I set my background color. So we'll hit download on that. And then here in AnywherePOD, we're just going to upload that design, or that stripe, I guess I should say. And we need to move my text so it is on top. And that sizing on that worked out pretty good. We'll move that up a little bit. Actually, I would maybe shrink this down. I don't know, it doesn't matter. You could kind of shrink this down so it is, instead of taking up, let me go back to that lock my text. Instead of taking up the full width, you could have, bars on the sides, kind of up to you on exactly how you'd want that to display. I think for this one, we'll just kind of go like that here. And then on that, we're going to mark that as personalized, and we'll go to create product. Okay, so there is that design. So now we wanted to offer a coordinated pillow to go with it. So we could either do the exact same thing with the name on the pillow as well. We could do a repeating name on the pillow. We could have done a repeating name, I think, on this blanket would have looked really good as well, with a contrasting, font color. But in this case, let's just go to add variants. And let's stay in the with shine on here, and let's look at pillows. So we're still in shine on, looking at pillows. So we got our classic pillow here. We're just gonna go start designing on that. And let's go upload artwork. We're gonna do the same flower print. And we're going to go to create pattern so that we have that on there as a repeating pattern. Now we could put the name on each side of this pillow, just like we did with the blanket, or we could leave the pillow just blank. It's kind of up to you on how you wanted to add that. But adding the name is going to be the same process that we just did on the blanket. So we can just go to update product here. And now if we come down to our variants section, you'll see we've got our pillow options here, and we have our blanket here at the top. But you can't really tell which one is which, right? I know because of the sizes, and that the blanket only comes in those two. Kind of tell by looking, but if we click on this product button here at the top, it's going to tell me which is which. So what I want to do here, so I'm gonna, if you remember, I'm gonna give the customer the choice to be able to select if they want the blanket, the pillow, or the blanket and the pillow as a set. So to do that, we're gonna leave size as it is, but here we're gonna say product, and then here we're gonna have our blanket, and then on these, we're gonna have pillow. Now, there's not very many variants here, so I'm just going to copy and paste it into each one. If you had a lot of variants, you could use this update variant names function here to update those in bulk if you wanted to. Okay, so we'll hit save on that. And now we've got blanket and pillow. Okay, so now they'll have the choice on the listing if they want the blanket or the pillow. Now we want to add our bundle option so that they can select if they want the bundle as well. So to do that, we're going to come here to add bundle, and we're going to select our blanket. We're going to add that to our bundle. We're going to add our pillow to our bundle. And for the bundle name, this is just internal use, so it's not going to be seen anywhere. This is just if you want to add multiple bundles to a listing, you can. So here we're going to say blanket and pillow. And we're going to click on Save Bundle. And now we'll see down here under our bundles, we've got 10 variants here. That's going to give us the blanket and the pillow, as well as our sizes for the blanket and the pillow. So here, now we can go through and set our variant names up exactly how we want them. Again, either just by editing it here, or we have a variant name builder that I'll walk through here in just a second. Same thing with the prices. So the price that's shown here is just going to be the addition of the two prices essentially. So if we did the 60 by 80 and the 26 by 26, it's basically taking the $89.99 and the $29.99 and adding them together, and that's the price that is shown on the bundle. So most of the time, one of the things with bundles that's nice is being able to offer a bit of a discount to your customer. So we also have this update prices button here that'll allow you to offer that discount. So say if I wanted to give a discount of $3 if they purchase the bundle, what I can do here is subtract $3 from my price, and then we can select if we want it to round. So right now, we have some cents ending in 98 or 97 or something like that. So if we want to keep our cents so they're all kind of looking nice, what we can do is round down and then have the cents maybe end in 0.49. And when we click on update here, you'll see all of our pricing is going to get updated. So it essentially gave the discount and then updated the cents so they look nice. Okay. So on the variant name builder, we can set these up, again, these names up however we want them to show. This is where it can get a little bit easier if you're on Shopify, because if I was on Shopify, I could have one variant for my blanket size, one for my pillow size, and then one specifying if I'm just buying the blanket, the pillow, or the set. So since we're selling on Etsy, we just kind of have to be confined to these two fields. One of the things you could do is not offer as many sizes, or like I said, just update your variant names so they show both. So what we're going to do here is let's actually let's go to variant name builder. So here you can just kind of click and drag where you want your original variant options. So we can say size here. This will essentially, if I left this just as it is, it's going to set it up exactly as it was. You can also here under advanced, specify what you want the separator to be. So by default, there's just a slash between the two. You can also add text to the beginning or to the end. So again, it's kind of up to you on how you wanted to name these. I would probably, for my pillow and blanket variant here for my product, I would probably go pillow, and then instead of a slash for a separator, I would say and blanket. And I would probably leave those the same, or because you're going to run into some size field limitations a little bit on the Etsy side. So you could leave that just with a slash, how we had it before. So we click update here and come down to variants. You'll see now we've got pillow and blanket listed under our product. And then we've got our blanket size and pillow sizes listed here. So all of that information is what's going to actually publish over to Etsy. One quick thing to mention on pricing is the Etsy listing only has one place where you can enter in shipping pricing. So for your bundles, yes, you want to offer a discount, but you also need to make sure that you're accounting for that shipping pricing in your bundle price. Probably the easiest way to do that, and it still be clear to the customer that they're getting a discount when they do the bundle, is to offer free shipping on the listing. And then on your um, bundle pricing, you just need to make sure you're accounting for both shipping prices, which should already be accounted for. And then giving that discount kind of makes a little more sense and is easier for the customer to understand. So um, hopefully that all kind of makes sense. I'll run through the questions here and see if you guys have any questions here in just a second. So if there is anything that you're not sure about, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. So from here, all we need to do is go to create listing. This is going to create the Etsy listing for us. That if we open this up and come down to our variants options here, you can see here we just have our blanket product. And if we go to view all, down here you'll see our pillow. And then here at the bottom will be all of our pillow and blanket options listed here, exactly how we had it set up in AnywherePOD. These options here that are showing as disabled here, just ignore those. The way Etsy requires variants to be added, even if it's not an option that's added, they want it in the list and just gone through as disabled. So anytime you see anything like this that's disabled, everything's working correctly. Those are just ones that can be ignored that you don't need to do anything with. So, all right. Let's see what questions we have. All right. Did you just choose a spot on the blanket? You got the hex color. Yeah. So what I did to get my hex color, and you could use, like a color picker or something like that to get it. But when you are in AnywherePOD and you click into your color field, you'll notice my cursor here. It might be a little bit hard to see because it's smaller, but my cursor here is changed to a crosshair. So that's going to be like a color selection for me. So any color I click here is going to set that color to Elizabeth, and it's going to also give me the hex code here in this field as well. So I've got that kind of pinkish color. If instead I click on this yellow, you can see it set it there, and it gave me the hex code here. So I just used that to be able to grab the hex code before I created that kind of stripe inside of Canva. Yep, I saw Sabrina was asking about the colors too, so we should have that colored. Yeah, hopefully that's a little trick helps. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to catch that. Um, have you tested the print quality of graphics that have transparency applied to them? Can you explain further what you mean there, Kristen? Um, as far as print quality with so like usually the transparency that we're talking about is when you export a design from Canva, you're wanting to have the background be transparent. Is that what you mean? If so, I mean that's common on most products. That is kind of what's required. Not everyone though. Like on the woven blankets, those are from MWW. They actually require a JPEG. You don't need to worry too much about that because AnywherePOD takes care of making sure that any artwork that you generate gets converted to a JPEG before it's sent to MWW. So you'll notice if you create artwork for an MWW blanket, when you save that artwork, if you then go download that artwork, it's going to download as a JPEG instead of a PNG. Do you see a big difference between heirloom photo and heirloom artwork woven blanket? Yeah, so we've talked about this before a little bit. So the difference between the photo woven and the artwork woven process is that the photo woven process is so basically what MWW does is they take the artwork that you send and they basically have a program that then converts that into what their weaving machine needs to select all of the right colors and everything. So the photo one in particular was developed and designed to be able to get shading correct on either photos or photorealistic artwork. So in particular, getting the right shading like on faces and around the eyes and things of that nature is a little bit better on the photo woven process than it is on the artwork process. If you reference back to that same woven design guide that I mentioned a little while ago, that kind of talks about the difference between the two and even has a few examples in there on what the difference is. I believe Shine On in their knowledge base articles, they have one that kind of walks through some of the similar information on when each one should be selected. So I would recommend taking a look at that further as well. I will say, talking to the MWW rep, most of the time they're kind of, I don't want to say caveat, but if you add, so they don't provide, MWW doesn't provide mockups directly either. You can get really good mockups from Createsy if you're looking for more mockups. I know we've talked about them a few times on here before as well. But if you're talking to the rep, what they recommend from mockups to photo or artwork, first of all, they're willing to give their opinion on artwork if you're not sure which one it should be. Shane from MWW, when you have an account with them, he's willing to kind of look at your artwork and give you recommendations on that if needed. Um, they will also say, order a sample. And one of the really good tips he had when I was talking to him one time when we were talking about samples and how things turn out, and needing to order a sample for each blanket, that seems kind of crazy. But especially kind of once you get into it, you're gonna get a feel for which is better, the photo or the artwork. But his recommendation, instead of doing, you know, something like this with the repeating pattern of the flowers and ordering a sample on that, to order a sample with multiple different designs on it. So take several different designs and take the most complicated portions from that design and do like a couple inch strip and have, I mean, that is almost giving you 10 samples in one when you order a sample for the woven. Now you're not going to be able to give that product necessarily as a gift. I would still use it on my couch, but you're not going to be able to give it as a gift, so it may not be as usable. But it can give you, with the price of just ordering one sample, you essentially are going to be able to sample lots of different designs. So it can be a really good way to kind of get a multi-design sample, or to be able to look at how different fonts turn out, things of that nature. So was speaking on fonts, I didn't mean to go way down on a tangent on this, but there was, I think it was in I forget if it was Shine On's Facebook group or in ours, that I believe, I think it was actually Stephanie that shared a photo of a sample that I think she maybe had gotten from Shane that was lots of different fonts and different styles and thicknesses. So you could see how different fonts kind of turned out as well. So that was a cool thing to see as well. So if you're getting into it, I would look that up as well. All right. Is there a video that explains why certain information that you input and how to fix the output of the product? I guess I'm asking the why and how it works on different scenarios. Um, I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there. Why certain information? You had another comment right after this. See if that. Yeah, maybe you can rephrase. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there, Deborah. If you could let me know, maybe leave another comment and explain a little bit further. I'm not sure certain information you input and how it fixed the output. Yeah, if you could maybe leave a clarification comment on that, that would be helpful. Also, you mostly show the Etsy results and not the Shopify results. Yeah, so I mean, I can publish this same product over to uh, Shopify as well. Let's see. We're just gonna go to continue because this is has a bundle on it, so that live preview wasn't gonna look correct. It shouldn't have asked me for that. Okay, view on Shopify. There we go. So in this case, the way I named my sizes, I would definitely want to do differently, or I would create a product template for this blanket or for bundles that were drop downs instead of the pillboxes here, because that's why you're seeing all of these unavailable. Etsy doesn't show it this way, but some Shopify themes do. So that's going to depend on your theme. So you can see how things are switching on and off of what's available here based on which option I select. But then I still have my text box um, down there as well. I didn't do personalization on the pillows, why that didn't show. There we go. There's the intertext there. Bundled mockups. Yeah. So you will make your own mockups for bundles. So what I would do is, let's see, did we? So right now we just have pill or the blanket. So what I would do is come here to the blanket and look at, actually, I would probably do one of these. And then what I would do after that generates is I would download my blanket mockup and my pillow. So I would just download both of these, and then I would create one image that has both of them in there. Also, again, depending on where you're selling, if you're selling on Etsy, I would also then play around with the kind of first initial image that shows up um, and see what sells the best. So you can test, is it better just to have the blanket, just to have the pillow, to have an image with both, or what the case may be. One of the nice things of doing bundles like that, even if your primary image is of both the blanket and the pillow, the price that's going to show on the listing is going to be whatever your cheapest price is on that product. So that can kind of help with your click through and conversion rates with that as well. Um, no, I mean graphic like the square. Oh, so you're saying if we change the transparency, this goes back to Kristen's question earlier, that if you change the transparency, how that comes out in print. So, I mean, it's gonna be similar to what you have there. So, like the pink box that I put up, I didn't change the transparency on that. You could. It's just gonna look a little bit duller and more washed out than if you have it at full transparency. Um, Sabrina said, I cannot create mock-up templates for phone cases. I create the placeholder with rounded corners, but then it generates a custom mock-up. Yeah, so probably what you need to do there. So the way the mock-up templates work is it's going to take whatever your placeholder image is that you use for your artwork, and then whatever artwork you generate for the specific product, and it's just going to swap out those two files. Um, so if you have rounded corners, those aren't like somehow going to just carry through to your artwork that gets generated. What you would want to do there is actually have, I would call it like a mask. So if you were doing, say, a phone case, for example, where the artwork is going to show up on the phone case, you want to be transparent, and then put your placeholder, your placeholder artwork for that phone case. You want to put that behind the phone case with the transparency, and then that's going to give you the rounded corners around the edge. Hopefully that makes sense there. Um, Correct. So for bundles, we are not able to do a live preview yet. We do plan to have the ability to do live previews in the future, but right now we do not have, since it's two different pieces of art that are getting the personalization, we're not able to show a live preview. So in this case, when you're doing, say, the pillow and the blanket, you would just have the input field on your product in Shopify that the customer would type into. Um, so Deborah, I think this is probably clarification from earlier. I have one product that I'm adding four different designs to. No personalization, just different designs for the same product. Product has three colors. I'm never sure how to name the variants. So my first question would be if your product also has sizes with it as well, or if it's a product without sizes, because that's going to change a little bit on how you need to set up your variants. Um, I can probably show you a couple examples here as well. But the way I would recommend thinking about that is for any given variant option, right? That correlates to a specific product that the customer is going to receive. What is it that you want the customer to select to get that product, right? So you've got four designs, and the product itself has three different colors. So you'll probably have one drop down for color, red, blue, black. That's simple and straightforward. What's your, say tumbler color, for example, if that's what it is. Then they need an option to be able to select the design. Depending on what your design is going to depend on um, what you want there. So if it's something easy to explain, like maybe it's for Halloween and I've got ghosts and I've got spiders, I could just name that my other drop down field to be design and then have the option of ghosts or spiders listed under there, and they can select between the two. Um, if it's something that is a little more complex, you'll also see a lot of times what people will do is have essentially assign a number or a letter or something like that to the design, and then have one of their kind of mock-up images be an infographic that shows you what each design is. So maybe you'll have, A1, A2, A3, so on and so forth. And then in your variant option, they're essentially selecting what you have listed in that image. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I can try to pull up some examples in Etsy or walk through an example too if you'd like further clarification on that. Let me see if I have an example of what I'm talking about with this mask here real quick. Yeah, here's an old one that should. Okay, let's see if this helps explain a little bit more here. Okay, so this I'm in my mockup templates here, and you can see I've got two layers here. Let me unlock so we can see both of these. So one is this top layer. So this top layer, let me just move this artwork over for a minute. This top layer, this middle here this one's actually semi-transparent because it's also showing um, some shading for the platter to kind of give it a 3D effect to it. Um, so the center here is semi-transparent, and then behind it, we actually have the artwork that then is able to sit on top of it. Let me see if I have a better image. Let's try this daisy design that we were working with a minute ago here. And put that here. There. So you can kind of see a little bit better here on this one, how some of that shading even comes into play. But you can see when I say mask, I'm referring to essentially this very top image here that is semi-transparent or completely transparent, depending on what you're doing. So that's transparent is kind of acting as a mask over the top and is essentially cropping out your artwork so it has the rounded corners and fits where it needs to. So I'm placing this like blank mock-up image is over the top of my placeholder artwork. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense on that, Sabrina. Um, if not, let me know. Uh, Deborah said one size. Yeah, so I think the way I explained that ought to work pretty well. Yeah, want the customer to be able to select a design and color. So yeah, that really just comes down to whether or not your design is easily described with a single word or not. If not, it doesn't even have to be a single word, but easily described, right? Because I think Etsy has like a 20 character limit that you can fit into their variant dropdown fields. So if it's a long wordy design, you can't put the whole thing in there to describe it, but you can easily have, design. I think you said 4 designs, so you can have design 1, 2, 3. So they select the color, and then they select, do you want design 1, 2, or 3? Um, and also, if you have more questions on that or issues with that, you'd like us to take a look at your specific design. If you write into support, we can pull up your account and look at it and give a recommendation specifically on that design and product that you're kind of working on. Um, Yes, so Sabrina brings up a good point. In that example, you only created a pattern downloaded from Creative Fabrica for the pillow. Can we do that for commercial use, or we need to change it with clip arts and text? Yes, I would recommend definitely changing that and doing something else to it. You are right about that. On the blanket, since I added that customization layer, it should be fine. On the pillow, either adding customization, adding another image to it, anything like that would certainly um, work. I think for the pillow or the blanket, both would also work well to have kind of a cutout in the middle of a heart that have your name personalization. Then instead of just that straight bar, have your name personalization be like inside of a heart. That would get you um, compliant there as well. The reason why I'm saying that, so for Shopify, I don't think it would matter. For Etsy, um, people are saying because of Etsy's new policies that they've come out with that this is the case, but it's actually been the case for Etsy pretty much from the beginning. Um, Etsy's previous handmade policy said that you had to create the design yourself and that it essentially needed to be a design that wouldn't exist without you, the designer, is kind of how they used to word it. Which in some cases made things a little bit more simpler in their attempt to clarify. It kind of made things more complicated in certain scenarios and not in others. But regardless, that's kind of been Etsy's rule from the beginning is that you need to have something unique with the product. You had to do something to comply with it being a handmade marketplace. You needed to do something to the design to make it handmade. And that's definitely still the case. And then they also have additional rules around it now and specified some more things with personalization. But um, yes, so she says, how is that semi-transparent? How did you make it on Canva? So this particular one, um, hopefully I didn't just pull an Etsy in an attempt to clarify, made things more complicated. This particular one, actually let me get rid of this. This, like I said, kind of semi-transparent with the shadows. This was actually taken directly from Deco Plates. If you guys remember or have been around, Deco Plate used to only have one mock-up that was just a flat white background. In this case, I actually took that PSD file that they used to use for mock-ups and put a different background on it, and then exported as a PNG and used it as a template in AnywherePOD. So that was how I did it there. With what you're wanting to do with phone cases, you're going to want to take that phone case and then where the design goes, you need to make that area transparent. There's not really an easy way to do that with Canva alone. That's something that you're probably going to need Photoshop or Photo P to be able to do, but you should be able to do it with either one of those. Um, okay, Deborah. Yeah. So it's back to the cuff bracelet that you're working on. You're only on Shopify. I think everything I said is still completely true for Shopify. Really the only difference there with Shopify is with being able to have that third variant dropdown. Um, which in your case, actually, no, you're right. So the one thing that I said was the name. You can have a little bit longer names in Shopify, but you're still going to want it to be fairly easy for the customer to be able to understand, which option they're getting. Um, so that shouldn't, be any kind of an issue. Um, the only other thing that I said that would apply different to Shopify is going to be on the variants because you can have that third variant field. But since your product doesn't have any sizes anyway, that doesn't matter. That third variant really comes in if you're doing something like this, but you also have sizes, because then you're able to have the customer select the color, the size, and the design. In this case, it's one size you said, so it's just going to be the color and then the design, similar to what I said before. And again, we can happy to take a look at your product closer as well if that helps. Is there a way to consolidate personalization for bundles? I have 5 different products bundled with the same personalization child name to avoid having them put the same name 5 times. So there is not right now. There's a couple different options we're looking at adding to be able to do, similar things for that. Um, what I would recommend there is to just name your fields to be associated with whatever product they're putting it on, right? So, say for example, if you're doing a deco plate and you have the option to do a bowl, a plate, a silverware, a mug, and a placemat, they're probably going to want the same name on all of them, but you can give them the name to have something different. Like say on the placemat, if they wanted to use last name, and on the actual um, um, dinnerware, they want the first name. That's something that then they would be able to do. But right now, that's the going to be the best way to do it. Deborah says she'll reach out. That's perfect. Lower the transparency, but how did you obtain the shadow? So on this one that has the shadowing, this came direct. The shadowing and everything was already on the mock-up that came from um, DecoPlate. So I would be curious where you got your kind of blank mock-up that you have that you're trying to create, because if that was already created and set up as a mock-up, it might be set up to be able to do what I'm describing here anyway. So a lot of the mock-ups that you purchase that are able to be used like on Canva or something like that, they either already kind of have that shading built in where you can just place the image behind it, or they're set up as a what's called Canva frames, where you can drop that image in. So and it's kind of a similar thing that you're able to do in AnywherePOD. Alrighty. Any other questions? Let me know. I think I am all caught up here. There was one very early on. I don't know if you're still here or not. Here we go. YC said that you're having trouble connecting to Shopify with AnywherePOD. If you could reach out to support, either let me turn off that, either down here at the bottom, you see there's a little contact us link. If you click on that, we're happy to help kind of help you get connected there if you have any troubles there, or you can send an email to support@anywherepod.com. Let us know kind of what step of the process you're having an issue with, and we'll be more than happy to help make sure you get connected and set up the way you want to. How do we start creating digital downloads and how we add mockups. So I am 90% sure we have a video on YouTube about this as well, but there is a digital downloads section here in Anywhere POD, which depending on what kind of product you're doing and how you want to show your mockups and things of that nature, can be very beneficial. So these will push over to your Etsy store as a digital download, not as a physical product. So there's quite a bit that you can do with Anywhere POD. You can see on this one, I've added a watermark. We can automatically list the files, the file types that you provide. So on this one, we provided a PNG, SVG, and a PDF. We can convert PNGs to SVG. You get the whole Etsy analyzer. You get the video creator, and then you also get the mockups. So if you want to put this on, like T-shirts or mugs or anything like that, you can create those mockup templates and be able to show that design kind of in use, which is something that some people do. So um, those are things that you kind of get if you're using Anywhere POD as to help manage your digital downloads. Just curious if there are any imminent product updates based on Etsy's new rules. Perhaps some name nexuses might be allowed. Yeah, so that's something that I've been talking to some people about, and we've really been trying to dissect whether or not Etsy is going to allow things like name necklaces on Etsy any longer. It's been out for a couple weeks now, so I'm sure everybody's seen the updates from Etsy regarding how they're classifying different products. Um, Technically, they said they are not changing what products can be sold on Etsy, but at least in one scenario, they very clearly are because they talk about being able to source um, like bundles of craft supplies and things. Nothing that really pertains to POD. In that case, that definitely changes the products that can be sold. But they did very clearly state that this isn't changing any of the products that can be sold. And previously, with the handmade policy that they had published before that I referenced earlier, that said you have to make a change to the actual product itself. Um, that was pretty clear that things like name necklaces were not allowed. So with the new wording, it kind of sounds like some of those products might be allowed now because there's the personalization piece from the customer, and they're kind of classifying those separately. Because technically, previously, things like just a blank your image here or your image or text here, those listings technically were not compliant previously either. Um, and some of those now look like that they would be compliant um, as long as they change their mockups. But that type of product that you're not doing any designing on yourself, that you're just taking the design from the customer and having it printed, not yourself, but by a third party, those seem like they are compliant now, which is definitely a lot closer to the name necklaces now. So regardless to say, as you can see, it's definitely something that we have thought about a lot and are still deciding exactly how we're going to handle that. Um, Especially since they made the statement that it's not changing anything that can be sold on the platform now. Um, it also seems as though, and I should mention, all of this is just no one knows 100%, right? We're not Etsy. So with any of this stuff, everyone's kind of trying to interpret the policies that Etsy puts forth the best that we can. So um, it's a little bit unclear on whether or not things like name necklaces are 100% compliant or not. It seems as though, at least previously, one of the ways that they were policing some of those shine on products was by um, detecting the mock-up images that were used. So I know that we had some customers that had uploaded a listing. It was actually of the pendant with the message card, but the mock-up that they used as their primary mock-up was kind of the stock mock-up from Shine On that said, your image here. So it was acting as though it was a buyer upload product, which was traditionally how Shine On used that product. But with Anywhere POD, you can personalize both pieces. But the point is, as soon as they listed that product with the your image here, it was deactivated almost instantly, and Etsy said it was against their handmade policy. So it does seem as though that Etsy is detecting some mock-up images that are used for non-compliant products. So that's one of the concerns with the name necklaces, is if they have had previously, it was fairly clear that those products were not allowed. So if kind of that ruling when they were doing the whole, I guess Etsy Shine On apocalypse debacle, if those images for those name necklaces were a part of that, and now you use the same mock-ups, is that still going to get detected in Etsy's system? It's I guess kind of part two on that question. So um, long diatribes to say that still not 100% sure if those products will be coming back. I hope so, because I really like those products, and I really like um, the flower name necklace stuff that Shine On has, and a lot of those. So hopefully that's something we'll be able to bring to the platform in the future. But we also don't want to risk merchants, Etsy stores, or our connection with Etsy. So it's not 100% sure where things are going to land with that, I guess, is the kind of long story short there. Um, Okay, back to Sabrina on the digital download. Customer will download my file from Etsy. When they click on my Etsy link, it will take the customer to APOD to download the image. No, so the way digital downloads work is when you push a digital product from Anywhere POD to Etsy, it's actually going to get listed in Etsy as a digital download product. And as soon as they purchase that in Etsy, they're going to be able to immediately download that product from Etsy. Etsy allows, I think it's 5 images that can be downloaded. And if you go over the 5 images in Anywhere POD, we'll automatically zip those images together for you before we publish to Etsy. So we kind of take care of that process or issue as well. Alrighty. Any other questions? I guess we'll kind of say last call for questions. If anyone has anything, please let us know. We've been going for a little bit over an hour, so want to make sure we get everybody's questions answered, but also want to let everybody get back to work as well. Yes, Mark, thank you for the reminder. And let me actually go pull that up. So Hillary had posted a question, or perhaps a series of questions in. Oh, and actually there was one more here too. So I guess we have a couple more quick things. I forgot there were a couple people that posted that they won't be able to make the live stream, but they still had a question. And why is Hillary's comment not showing up here? Was it on my earlier post? Maybe. Here we go. Okay. Uh, and Mark, can you tell me real quick? Are you selling on, or is Hillary? Are you selling on Shopify and Etsy, or just one or the other? I can kind of address it for both, but it might help on exactly what you're wanting to know. So Hillary's post, and I'll kind of try to answer this as I go here for you as well. Hillary said, my struggle, confusion lies in having a true understanding as to what history and experience, observations, and findings have shown to be the best strategies and practices when it comes to upselling, cross-selling, downselling, bundles, and even price points, as depending on who you listen to, there are conflicting suggestions. So I guess first of all, a couple things I kind of want to point out there. One is that you can often get conflicting information from multiple coaches online, and I may say something that's different than somebody else. Part of that is because everyone kind of has their own philosophy and their own way of kind of doing things. So there are some things that one person finds works better than another that they're gonna promote. Somebody may be saying something that works a little bit different, and for the niches and strategies that they've employed, it's worked better for them. So try not to get into the chasing the next YouTube, what the next YouTube video says, right? Like there's a lot of good information from YouTube, a lot of good stuff that you can glean there. But trying to follow every path on YouTube is just going to send you spinning, and it's going to be hard to um, really kind of be able to focus there. Depending also on where you're at in your journey, upselling, cross selling, downselling, and even to an extent, bundles, even to an extent, price points. I don't want to say don't think about those things, but those should not be your focus, right? If you have a product that really resonates with somebody and you get it in front of the right person, they're going to buy, right? So yes, if your pricing is way out of whack, way too high, or something like that, you're going to run into some issues there. But figuring out, how can I cross sell or downsell them when you haven't even sold them yet? Like the upselling, cross selling, downselling, like those are all really good strategies. And I'm not saying you should never focus on those, but if you're not getting any sales yet, do the things that's going to lead to your first sales before you worry about trying to then optimize each one of those sales for as much as you can, which is kind of what those selling strategies are, right? So someone isn't going to purchase from you because of what you have in your cross sell or your down sell. You may be able to maximize that sale a little bit more, but you're not going to get the sale because of that, because those are things that they're seeing after they've already committed to purchase, if that makes sense. Um, Bundles and price points, those can affect the sale a little bit more directly. But I still think that focusing on the products that you're offering and having something that really resonates with your customer is going to be more important. And then depending on which platform you're selling on, there's really kind of two main things to focus on. Obviously, each one has lots of other individual things inside of it. But it differs on how you actually get that sale a bit between Shopify and Etsy. But the first part is kind of the same, regardless of whether it's Shopify or Etsy. And that's doing your research and finding a product that you think is going to work well and is going to resonate with customers, that is maybe already in a niche, or you got inspiration from another product that is already selling and is already doing well, and kind of using that as inspiration, right? So you're going to do that on either platform. Then on Etsy, you're going to spend a little bit more time doing more research on what tags and keywords and mockups and things of that nature to use to be successful on Etsy. And on the Shopify side, you're going to spend more time focusing on, you still need those things, you still need the good mock-ups and things like that are going to resonate with people, but then you're also kind of driving your own traffic. So you're also then, getting into the world of Facebook ads and Google ads and that whole side of things. But the first part that's really going to make a customer buy or not buy is going to be more around your product and your design. Hopefully that helps a little bit on some of that. When one is creating their product lineup, should they be doing so with the above in mind? I think I covered that. Um, Hopefully that helps. I'm just reading through to see if there was anything else, because I know when I read this earlier, I had some other thoughts, but I don't want to keep people here forever either. Understand theories. Yeah. So, one of the things that Hillary's talking about here is that in theory, you kind of understand the theory and what you need to do. But it's not as simple as you kind of intimated it or thought it originally was, especially for somebody that's new to all of it. Yes, I agree. So, like, I forget who the quote was, but it was something along the lines of, anything good, or that leads to good things isn't easy. It does take time. It does take dedication. No matter what platform you're selling on, they both have their positives and negatives. There's going to be differences between the both of them. Some people do make this sound like, "Hey, do this, and in a month you're going to be at X." Um, And most of the time, that's not necessarily the truth. I do think that most people can be successful in this business, and there's tons of opportunity still to be successful both on Shopify and Etsy. Those two platforms, there's kind of different paths to get there. But if you are newer and you are trying to figure out what to do and you're kind of in the tailspin of it all, my number one suggestion is just start doing it. Whatever it is, start listing, start designing, start getting the product created because it is so easy as a new seller to get into analysis paralysis. There are so many niches that you can do research on. There are so many new products coming at you from, Printify has the new sled ornament, Shine On has the new Tumblr and puzzles, and Printify is coming out with new products. T Launch has been launching a ton of new products that you can spend almost your entire time just researching and reading about new products and new niches and never actually getting anything done. When you're new, you're going to make mistakes. So, especially if you're the type of person that wants everything to be perfect to start out with, if you do that, you're never going to get done. You're never going to create that first product and you're not going to learn from your mistakes. So, regardless of how much research you do, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a mistake that you make. You're going to look back at a listing 2 weeks from now and say, oh man, why did I do that? Like now I know I should have done XYZ. The only reason why you know that is because you've made that mistake and you've learned from it. So, the only way you can learn from your mistake is to start making them. So, my number one suggestion to anybody new trying to figure out what to do is to start doing it and start making the mistake because you're not going to learn from the mistake until you make the mistake. So just jump in there and do it and stop looking at other niches and other products and whatever. Pick something and do it the absolute best that you can. And then pick something else and do it absolute best that you can. Especially with Etsy, where that can get to be kind of more of a numbers game than it necessarily is on um, like the Shopify side of things. Uh, okay, so I know you ended with some in-depth strategies and understandings would be very much appreciated, and that was kind of high level and not necessarily in depth. I hope that was still helpful. The last thing I would say on that though is finding a coach really is helpful. So I've been working with merchants on um, Etsy and Shopify and Amazon, not necessarily from the coaching side of things. I was more on the I guess you could say support side of things, and similar things to what AnywherePOD does. Been helping with merchants on all those platforms for close to a decade now, and I will say lots of people can be successful at this business. The ones that find success faster than other people are the ones that are working with a good coach and following what a good coach says. Not necessarily because that coach is always right and has all the answers and knows what to do, but because you're getting out of the analysis paralysis that I was just talking about. You're able to get on more of a direct path and more of a focus and be able to be more consistent because you're following the teachings of a coach and you can kind of skip through some of the headaches that you encounter. So um, if you don't have any coaches that you're working with, I know there's a lot of different ones out there. If you're interested in who some of the good ones are, you can reach out to our support. We have several that we work with that we've been very happy with not only the results but the mindset and level of support that a lot of them are willing to give. I know a lot of people on the call probably already are working with somebody, but if you're not, and that's something you might be interested in, we're willing to, give you our 2 cents with that as well, if that helps. Okay, I think there's a few things that came in during that little rant there. Anywhere POD have comfort color tees for Custom Cat? No, so I did see that Custom Cat recently launched comfort colors. There are several new products from Custom Cat that we don't have available in Anywhere POD yet. We are working with them to get the required information that we need to be able to get our catalog 100% up to date with their catalog, and hope to be able to have that in the near future. Julie says, thank you for sharing great information. Thank you. I hope all of that was helpful, and you're able to get some information out of it. Yes, that's a great point, Margot. It is a lot of trial and error. Again, regardless of what platform you're on, it is a lot of trial and error. There is a lot that you need to learn, but there is a lot of success on the other side. Um, so Margaret said a lot of trial and error, but when you get a win, repeat the process. Absolutely. Yep. And figure out how you can maximize on that win and find other similar wins as well, if that makes sense. Um, Sabrina says, I'll reach out for the coaching. Yep, happy to refer you to some people that we think do a really good job. Uh, Live stream is very useful. Great. I'm glad you found some use out of this live stream. I hope other people did as well. Um, we will leave it at that for now. If you guys have any questions throughout the week, as always, please feel free to reach out to our support. We're always happy to help. Um, if there's something you want to see on a future live stream, sometimes I feel like I'm kind of pulling for ideas. Don't want to do something that's too repetitive that you guys have seen on here before. So we try to keep things as fresh and as new as possible. So if there's something that you're wondering or a topic that you'd like to see a deeper dive into, or a type of product or a specific design, we're happy if you have a design that you say, hey, I like this kind of inspiration that I see here. How can we recreate it? We would be happy to recreate it during a live stream so that everybody's able to see it. So happy to do any of that. Alrighty, we'll leave it at that for this week. Thanks again, everybody, for spending almost an hour and a half with us today. And we look forward to seeing what you guys are building coming into Christmas or Q4 before we know it. So, alrighty, hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks a lot. Bye.